Hi Gemini, welcome to your month ahead tarot scope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. With that said, if you would like to book a personal tarot reading with me, you can do so on the website address below. And before we start, as always, I would like to bless all of my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So also worth mentioning, if you are not on my mailing list, you are not getting the monthly general overview. Just like I do a weekly general overview, I do a monthly one as well, but it only goes out in the newsletter. So if you want to join my mailing list, there is a link in the description box below. For those of you that have asked, if you would like to donate to the channel, you can do so on the PayPal link in the description box below. With that said, let's have a look at your month ahead, Gemini. What is going on for you? And this month you get, all right, so your actions and interactions with the world at large, you have the Five of Swords, right? So I've got to be honest with you, this month you're upsetting the balance. It could be in response or in relation to the fact that you've just had your solar return, right? So whenever we have a solar return, whenever the sun comes back to our sign, it gives us fresh perspective, new life and new vitality. The sun is ultimately consciousness, right? So it's already shed a light on your sign and it's giving you a moment to reflect and to pause over what you've learned over the 12 months and where you want to go from here. So now that you've got all of that knowledge, it's like, right, okay, I need to put a plan in place. I need to make some action steps in order to see the changes that I want in my life, right? So, and on top of that, it's worth mentioning as well, your ruler, Mercury, is retrograde as of the 1st right through to the 31st, right? So the whole month you're going to have this retrograde energy hanging around. Now, it's also worth mentioning that the Five of Swords is about fraught communication. But because it's in your actions and interactions with the world at large, this for me feels like you are upsetting the apple cart. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes things in our lives really need to be shaken up. This month you are very much, usually Gemini kind of does the whole be diplomatic, find a way to speak about certain things. Whereas this month, I don't feel like you're going to be doing that. It's kind of like you're ripping off the band-aid. That's the feeling that I get from it. You're saying what you see, you're saying what you mean, you're meaning what you say, and it's all kind of very upfront and very blunt. It's almost like that usual tact and sensitivity when it comes to words and speaking is gone this month, right? And it could have a lot to do with the Mercury retrograde, but I feel like it's in response to the it's almost like you've had a look over the last year that you've had, and now you're saying to yourself, right, okay, that's cool, and I've learned a lot from it, and I'll take away a lot from it, but in order to move forward, I'm going to have to make some pretty blunt decisions, and in order to do that, I can't really pussyfoot around the whole thing. I've got to just literally go in and do what needs to be done. So this month, you are upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. So also for some of you, what's coming in now is there are people in your life, in your world, that have been getting away with certain types of behaviour for a certain amount of time. This month you are stopping that dead. Like you're literally just saying, I am no longer here for it, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to accept it, it's not going to be a part of my lifescape anymore. So good for you, you're standing your ground, but sometimes when you do that, it upsets the status quo that you're a part of. So your money and materials this month, I was just talking about the status quo, and you get the Hierophant card. So first thing that I notice here straight away, you've got the Five of Swords, the Hierophant is also number 5. This is going to be a month of change, a month of upheaval for you. Things are going to move. You are taking back your power when it comes to your money and your finances this month. You're also establishing yourself in some way, shape or form. So whatever the new normal is going to be for you from here on in, this month you are making sure, it's almost like you're putting everybody on notice and saying, this is how things are going to be from here on in. You can either get on board or you can fall by the wayside. The choice is yours. And it really is a month where you are very clear cut like that. I mean, the Hierophant either is or isn't. He's either in or he's out. There's no in between. He doesn't have a middle ground or a middle pillar, right? The Hierophant actually represents the status quo. Banks, building societies, universities, law houses, governing buildings. The fact that it falls next to the Five of Swords, for some of you, you could be wrapping up a legal situation this month. For others of you, this could be you deciding on a completely different path when it comes to your finances. For some of you, this could be about refinancing something. For some of you, this could be about saying to yourself, right, I have a goal in mind now and I'm actually going to start heading towards that. It's almost like you're establishing a specific goal and you're moving towards that. But the thing is, in the process of moving towards that goal, you're letting go of anything and anyone that isn't kind of on board or isn't helping to serve that greater goal that you have. But yeah, this is going to be a month of change and upheaval. 5 is the number of change. And it's very rarely the sort of smooth and easy sort of change that we hope for. Very often it's fast, it's tumultuous, it asks us to think on our feet. But the thing about it as well, the number 5 as a vibration offers liberation, it offers freedom, right? And this month, this is a big part of the reason that you're doing things the way that you're doing them. Even if you don't necessarily understand it at a conscious level, your soul is asking for freedom and liberation. And if it needs to upset the balance of the current status quo in your life, it will do so. When it comes to, I said certain people and certain behavior, this goes for your finances as well. If you've been financing somebody in some way, shape or form, this is the month where that's all coming to an end. And it might be a sort of end, right? But I think you either which way, like I said, your usual tact and diplomacy and grace with words probably isn't going to be there this month. It's more kind of, you're very much clear cut, right? Whereas this Hierophant card is basically, like I said, it doesn't really do it's like you're either in or you're out, and it's lending that energy to it. So your communications this month, you got the Judgment card, right? For some of you, I'm sorry to say, if you have an old debt that is chasing you, just settle it, right? Whatever it is, whether it's a letter that keeps coming through the post, whether it's an email, whether it's the phone keeps ringing, if you don't have it, set up a payment plan. If you if you believe genuinely that you're not supposed to pay back this money, then my advice to you would be to find some way of kind of get some legal advice if you have to. But it looks like, because I'm talking about your money here, I've got the Hierophant, I've got the Judgment card right next to it. It looks like some kind of old debt. It could be coming back for you this month, or for others of you, this could be somebody cashing in an old favour. Or an old, or well, you said that if I did that for you at that time, you would do this. You got 2 things that are coming through here. One, if you did agree to something like that, if you can and you have it within you, honour that this month. Right, get it done and dusted so that you can lay it to rest and say, right, okay, that's fine. You're asking me to do this for you in response to something that you did for me. But once I've done this, we call it quits. This is where it ends. It's almost like you're wrapping up old ties and old loose ends this month. If there is also, in a work situation, if somebody's umming and ahhing and it's kind of like 1 minute they're offering it and then the next minute they're pulling it back, if you feel like somebody's dangling a carrot in front of you, this is the month to give an ultimatum, right? And because you're doing it, try not to be, bull in a china shop, because that's probably not going to get you what you want. But with the Judgment card there in your communications, it does suggest that if you kind of put your foot down and say, look, I feel like you're dangling a carrot. If you're really not interested, let me know and I will seek out, other arrangements, other employment, whatever. If you put down an ultimatum this month, the chances are you will be able to force their hand. But like I said, you can't be a bull in a china shop. And it's hard because you've got this energy that kind of is all or nothing, right? So, be a Gemini. Find a way to do that. And then, actually, no, to be honest with you, you probably don't need to, because this whole energy is permeating your life. It will be a shock to the system for some people. It really will. You're going from this sort of smooth, graceful, flowery wordsmith to, what, are we doing this or not? It's going to be like, oh, okay, maybe I have crossed the line here. Well, yeah, you probably have. All right, so your heart and your half. Let's have a look. You've got the Hermit card. For those of you that are single, this is a month to keep your head down. When it comes to personal relationships, this is not the month for it. You've got the Hermit card right next to the Judgment card, which for me, it can suggest that some of you will be looking to go down memory lane, but I've got to tell you, because the Judgment card is there, and with these other cards in the mix as well, that could be a self-destructive tendency. It could be a self-sabo. Recognize that when it comes up this month. Listen, I'm talking about it. I know that shit. I used to do it myself. Like, oh wow, I feel like this, so I'm gonna go back down that route. And it's like, what for? Ain't nothing there for you. You've been there already. It didn't work out. Leave it alone. Sorry, but you guys know me by now, right? With the Hermit card, for those of you that are coupled, with the Judgment card here, this could be an old issue that it's like an old recurring issue that keeps coming up. This is the month where you can lay that to rest, and it will come in one or the other. It's going to be either, we either agree to disagree and we let it go for good, or we figure out a way to move forward with this for both of us that feels mutually beneficial. But with that Hermit card, you really are looking over all of your personal relationships, personal, platonic, professional, all of that stuff is coming up. It's going to be a really intense month for you guys, I am sorry to say. I think you guys are going to feel the retrograde probably more than anybody else. First week of the month, you've got the Devil card, right? So, this is you calling somebody out, right? This is you basically saying to somebody, you know what? I've let you behave this way towards me. I've let you treat me this way for a certain period of time. That's okay. That was my choice up until then. But it's also my choice to stop that behaviour now. And if you can't, then unfortunately I'm going to have to find some way to let you go or phase you out. I kind of feel like you are really giving ultimatums this month. It's almost like you're really not here for it, which is good, because I tell you what, when you're in this kind of energy, yes, it can be upheaval, yes, it can be frenetic, yes, sometimes it can even be a little bit combustive. But I tell you what, it really does enough clear out the fucking people that aren't supposed to be there. They will start to run and scatter for the hills, because it's like, oh shit, now that they're getting serious, I need to be out of here, because I'm about to either get called out or found out. Right, your second week of the month, you've got the Hierophant right underneath the Hierophant. So in terms of money, in terms of finances, this is a month for you to make a concrete decision. What do you want? Are you in? Are you out? And more importantly, if it's somebody else that you're holding on, not holding on for, if somebody else is holding up a specific plan of yours, this is the time for you to say, look, you know what, we've got to sort it out for what it is. But the Hierophant card represents financial institutions. It also represents, among many other institutions, but it is a money card because it represents Taurus. So finances can be good this month. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look like they go up, but it doesn't look like there's any awful plunges or whatever. I do though see you getting really clear on your finances and possibly cutting somebody off. Third week of the month, you've got the Hermit card. Look at this, just like double repeats of cards, man. That's really interesting. It suggests, when the cards repeat like that, it suggests that the tarot is trying to give you prominent messages of things that are actually going to come to pass, of things that you need to know so that you are prepared for when they come up. The fact that the Hermit card is coming underneath your communications with the Judgment card, again, like I said, I feel like this is something that is recurring, and it could be because you've got the Hermit card there as well, which is the diligence. It's searching for something, it's looking for all the details. If somebody's saying you owe something but you don't, if somebody's trying to sell you a dream boat and actually it's like a fucking a cardboard box with a paddle attached, right? You will sniff it out this month, right? You're really not here for it. Woe betide anybody that tries to pull the wool over your eyes, because you will be all over that. Make no mistake, things are not necessarily easy for you, and they are definitely intense, but there's nothing here that suggests anyone will be able to screw you over in any way, shape or form. You'll sniff it out way before they even get to the point of completion. fourth and final week of the month, you've got the Magician. All right, so finally some good stuff, because the Magician actually represents your ruler, right? So as Mercury then finishes its retrograde, fair enough, it will still be in its shadow phase, but as Mercury reaches the 31st, it will then start to turn direct. The fourth week of the month, so basically the last bit of July, is when the energy will start to ease up for you, and you will move into a much better space, where you're more, well, not even necessarily more creative. You will be ready to start making plans, right? So this whole month, you're just kind of sorting the wheat from the chaff. And then, at the end of the month is where you're turning the wheat into flour, so that you can start baking the cake in August, right? It's a process this month. There's nothing here that suggests that, it's overnight success or something's going to happen straight away. It is going to be a serious month for you guys, right? So hang in there, and stick to your guns. Whatever path you are on that you've chosen, stick to it this month. And your key to the month, you've got the Devil card, right? So look at that. Basically, all of your cards, bar the Judgment card and the Five of Swords, have been repeated, which is, really interesting. So the Devil card is about what you're attached to. What is an unhealthy attachment? What has become effectively just an addiction? What is it that you're doing that you could probably let go of now? Where is it that you're caught in a cycle that just serves no purpose anymore? This is the stuff that you're phasing out, and these are the people that you're letting go. It's almost like, I have to say to you, I don't know why, but I get this image in my mind. It's almost like you're breaking the surface of the water this month, and when you come out of the water, you're going to be like, oh fuck. Like, you know what, I've been asleep for a while, and now that I'm awake, I can see all of you bitches clearly. Not to say that everybody, but I think you will spot a lot of things that you probably hadn't been able to up until recently. But this month, you're getting very clear on everything. If it's not too personal, please drop a comment in the section below. Apart from that, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Take care, look out for the weeklies, and and I'll see you soon.